Hello, Mimi's Munchkins. Do you like it when I speak and rhyme? Subscribe to the channel and like the video every time. Are you good for Mommy and Daddy? Did you brush your teeth on time? Great job. This is Luke. He's a friend of mine. Oh, Mimi's Munchkins, tell me some news. I'm a little forgetful, so I wrote down some questions for you. Mimi has some sponsors. I think it's pretty swift. They have to do with bowling, Jeff's Pro Shop, and Roll Fit. And if you like craft burgers, fries, and tots, this place is a winner. Head on over to Holy Cow for lunch and dinner. And to all my subscribers, it means so much to me. A huge thank you from Mimi. Oh, Munchkins, did you not feel like talking and did you have a bad day? Or are you sick and not feeling well today? Did someone push you or steal your snack? Or did your little brother bite you on the back? Let's cheer you up. Let's take a look, because Mimi has another new book. So let's sit back, relax, or snuggle in. Let Mimi Shell's bedtime stories begin. Today is How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch who lived just north of Whoville did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think that most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos, staring down from the cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in the town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow's Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys, and then, oh, the noise. Oh, the noise, 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 noise. The one thing that he hated, the noise, 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 noise. Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to feast, and they would feast, and they would feast, and they would feast, 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 feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beef, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand and the Whos would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing and they sing, 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 sing. The more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must put a whole stop to this whole thing. Why? For 53 years I've put up with this now. I must stop the Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat. And he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and he cluckled. What a great Grinch trick. With the coat and his hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there were none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn to the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackled sleigh and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, giddy up, and the sleigh started down toward the homes of the Whos lay a snooze in the town. All their windows were dark, quiet, snow filled the air. All the Whos were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, this is stop number 1, the old Grinch Claus hissed, and he climbed up the room, emptying his bag in a fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then why couldn't the Grinch? He got stuck only once for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue. when there was a little whose stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are all the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present, pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. He stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch, very nimbly, stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimbley. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's Feast. He took the Who Pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who Hash. Then he stuffed the food all up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I will snuff up the tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking the Christmas tree? Why? But you know, the old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, that fake Santa lied. There's a light on the tree that won't light on this side, so I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and then I'll bring it back here. And his fit fooled the child, and then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went up the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was the log of the fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On the walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who mouses. It was 1/4 dawn, all the Who's still in bed, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled, packed it up with the presents, with ribbons and wrappings and tags and the tinsel and the trimmings and trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of the Mr. Cumpet, he rode up the load and tiptoe and dump it. Pooh-pooh on the Who's, he was Grinchy-ishly humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused and the Grinch put a hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started low and then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound was very merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at the Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook when he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or another, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with the Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till the puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, a Whoville, they say, was the Grinch's small heart grew 3 times that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food and the feast, and then he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. The end. That was a good book. Did you enjoy it, Munchkins? Me too. Remember, you're special and unique, and there's nobody else in the world like you. Let's get ready for those goodnight kisses. Mwah! Now give them to Mom and Dad. Now scurry off. It's time for bed. Until next time, remember, Mimi Shaw loves you. Good night.